What's up, NFL fans? I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and don't forget to check out and purchase your copy of our latest football game plan book, Stiff Arming Football Myths. We have these available in both PDF and paperback form. Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you my 2015 NFL Draft Prospect Rankings video. We're taking a look at the outside linebacker position. We're going to look at my top 10, some small school prospects, as well as some sleepers that you want to keep an eye on. First, let's take a look at what goes into my prospect rankings. Number one, it's a trait focus base instead of a level of competition base. I don't care where you play, traits translate. Now look at 3 games: your best game, a player's worst game, and also the best matchup and or competition. And finally, these are not indicative of where I believe these players will actually go in April's draft. Shaq Thompson is my #1 rated outside linebacker in this year's draft class. I would compare his game to Thomas Davis because he's a game breaker. He's a guy that has elite football IQ, great speed downhill, and is effective in coverage. And like I said before, he's definitely a game breaker. Now, he struggles to disengage from blocks, and when he redirects, he isn't as sudden as you would like, which is why I think he's not a strong safety or a running back. I do see him being a very good outside linebacker for a very long time. Dante Fowler out of Florida, I looked at earlier in the year as a defensive end prospect, edge rusher, but I think he's better suited to be a strong side backer as a pro. He plays with very good technique. He uses his hands very well. I think he excels in short to intermediate zone and has good acceleration to the ball carrier as well as a quarterback. Now, he's more of a blitzer than a pass rusher, and he plays too high, which causes him to lose balance. But if you look for a comparison, look to Hakeem Ayers that now plays for the St. Louis Rams. Benardrick McKinney out of Mississippi State at 6'4", 246 pounds, played inside backer for the Bulldogs, but I think he's better suited to play on the outside as a pro. When you look at his game at 6'4", 246, he compares favorably to Mark Herzlich that plays for the New York Giants. He plays with great leverage and lean. He also attacks well downhill. I think he has good upside as an edge rusher, and he can play inside backer situationally. Why? Because I believe he struggles in space, more in particular in zone coverage, which is why you want him playing downhill and not out in space covering backers or covering backs, or tight ends. And he also played high as an inside backer. But when you look at him as an outside edge rusher, he excelled in limited opportunities at Mississippi State, and I think that's where he'll excel as a pro. Quan Alexander out of LSU has good football fundamentals. He's able to get through the trash very well. He's a solid open field and confined space tackler, and also has very good footwork. Now, he's a little stiff athletically, and he's awkward when he has to change directions. But overall, I think he's a solid outside backer type prospect in comparison, in my opinion, to Jonathan Casillas that plays for the New York Giants. Gabe Martin out of Bowling Green is your classic run and chase backer who's an explosive hitter. He also moves through the trash very well and is a very good blitzer in my opinion, but he's coming off a knee injury, not a serious one, but one that limited his effectiveness this year for the Falcons. He can be over aggressive and he plays a little high. I want him to get better with that pad level as he moves forward. I'm a big fan of Deshaun Davis out of Syracuse at 6'1", 225. I came away highly impressed with his game when I saw him live versus Boston College. He has good speed and explosive first step, and versus the run, he does a great job in getting through the trash and has good pop upon contact. Now, he plays Sam at Syracuse, but I think he can more than hold his own as an inside backer in nickel situations. He also has good value as a blitzer coming off the edge and plays full speed fast all the time. So I think this is the guy, when you look at his skill set, look no further than Rennie Curran, who plays for the Edmonton Eskimos. I think he has great value at any one of the 3 linebacker spots. Houston Bates out of Louisiana Tech is one of my favorite prospects in this year's draft class. He's disruptive. He's a versatile player, can play strong side backer or even defensive end on either side. He's fluid in dropping into coverage. Now, he doesn't use his hands very well to get off blocks, and he can be over aggressive in his pursuit to the quarterback, but he's a relentless player, and you have to like that about his game. I think he has a bright future as a pro. James Vaughters out of Stanford was a highly touted high school recruit that chose the Cardinal. He became a very good football player. He's a powerful player that plays the run very well. He's also able to close the front side door as far as setting the edge is concerned. He has good all-around game. Now, he's not overly quick or sudden, and he probably could drop at least 10 to 15 pounds to become much more explosive. But overall, solid skill set. I will compare his game to Preston Brown. Jordan Hicks out of Texas is a very good athlete, your classic sideline to sideline backer that takes good pursuit angles to the ball carrier, and I think he also excels in coverage. Now, he's not a physical player. He's not going to be stout at the point of attack, and he lacks the strength to take on blocks. But I look at DeAndre Levy as a comparison to Hicks because I do believe he can have a huge impact in the passing game. There's a lot to like about Tank Jakes out of Memphis, 5'11", 227. When you look at him, you instantly want to say he's a weak side backer, but I think he's better suited to play either inside or, in this video, strong side backer because he's not as quick or sudden as you would like. I think he's closer to 230, 240 actually, as opposed to 227. He's a sound tackler. He doesn't tackle high and gets good pop upon contact, and I think in coverage, he's better in zone as opposed to running with running backs in man. So I think he'd be a great guy to have on the outside over the tight end. Another outstanding backer out of Syracuse is Cameron Lynch, 6 feet, 231 pounds. Very good read and react skills. Big fan of his ability to get to the quarterback as well, showing good plant and acceleration skills once he turns the corner. Now, you want to see him be a little bit more instinctive. His awareness is not where it needs to be for a linebacker, but as a weak side backer, a guy that can get after the quarterback, Lynch definitely has a lot of value. Alani Fua out of BYU is a guy at 6'5", 238 pounds that's long and athletic. He matches up well versus tight ends. He has good footwork and change of direction skills. I think he provides tremendous value as a pass rusher. Now, he's not stout at the point of attack, so forget about him stopping the run. And he also struggles to disengage from blockers. Those are things he's going to have to work on as he moves forward. Mike Hall out of Penn State was a very productive player for the Nittany Lions who gets through the trash very well for a backer, is a sound open field tackler, and was very good in zone coverage. Now, he's not an explosive player and does show tightness in his hips and has decent speed overall. So he may not be a starter at the next level, but I think he definitely has value, and I will compare his game to Malcolm Smith. I'm a big fan of Darius Allen out of CSU Pueblo. He can win with power and quickness on the edge. He's a strong point of attack player, and he can turn and run very well, which is why I think he's better suited to play as a sandbacker as opposed to just an outside edge rusher in a 3-4, although he can do that as well. Now, his ability and coverage is where you question because he played exclusively on the defensive line, and he can play high at times, so his pad level will have to improve. But if I had to make a comparison to someone's game, look at Paris Harrelson that plays for the New Orleans Saints. Christopher Robinson out of Morgan State is functionally strong. He has very good change of direction skills. He takes great angles to the ball, and I think he's one of the best blitzers in this year's draft class. Now, he can be late with his hands, which causes offensive linemen to get into his chest, and that pad level has to get a lot better as a pro. But this is one of those guys that's a small school prospect that's a true sleeper in the draft, and I will compare his game to Sean Porter of the Cincinnati Bengals. Sage Harrell out of James Madison is an explosive hitter. This is the guy that also has very good versatility. He can flatten and accelerate off the edge and sets the edge versus the run, and more consistency in zone coverage will be needed from him as a pro, and he has to find different ways to get to the quarterback because, again, it's only one way with him, usually a power rush. He has to become a little bit more savvy as far as applying pressure, but this is a guy, again, very versatile that I believe can play anywhere on that second level, strong side, weak side, even situationally in the middle, and plays a lot like Christian Jones, who came out of Florida State last season. Mike Zuley out of Princeton put together an impressive career for the Tigers, actually won the Bushnell Cup, which is given to the Defensive Player of the Year in the Ivy League. I came away highly impressed with his burst and acceleration from sideline to sideline. He does a great job closing on the football and takes excellent angles to the football. Now, he's your classic weak side linebacker, can also play inside in the 3-4 as a weak side inside linebacker. Now, he struggles to get off blocks consistently. That's not his game. His game is run and chase the football, and I think he does that exceptionally well, and I would compare his game to Nick Bellore of the New York Jets. Isaiah Fleming out of Cheney has great sideline-to-sideline skills. He's an explosive tackler and was very productive at the Division II level, the leading tackler in the country this year with well over 400 career tackles. Now, his change of direction is marginal, and that also affects him in coverage. That's something that I believe he's going to have to focus on as he moves forward, but this is a guy I do believe can provide value very early as a special teamer. Zach Hodges out of Harvard is another outstanding Ivy League prospect this year that was also the co-defensive player of the year, the Bushnell Cup. Now he's a 6'3", 245-pound defensive end, but has the length of a guy that's 6'5", 6'6". Now he does a fabulous job of initiating contact. He's a hands-first type of a guy, which allows him to beat reach blocks consistently. Now he doesn't beat base blocks consistently. He has to get stronger and a little bit more stout. But I do see him as a Sam backer, a guy that can have some success over the tight end and also with the ability to get to the quarterback. So this is a guy I think he can fill out his frame to 250 and be one of the better pass rushers, but you have to be patient because I do think he's still raw in a sense, but definitely has growth potential. Edmund Robinson out of Newberry had a very good week of practice at the East-West Shrine game this year as he was able to make the adjustment to the step up in competition. He moves well through trash and also is very solid in both areas of coverage. That's both man as well as zone, and he also gives great effort consistently, but he plays a little bit too high and has to improve that pad level, and I think he's thinking too much out there on the field. He has to become a little bit more instinctive and play faster as a pro. Michael Gruber out of Brevard is a guy that brings a lot of Max Bolo type skill set to the table. This was a Mike backer in college. I think he's better suited to play on the outside. As a Sam, I can see him excelling matching up versus tight ends in both man and zone. The problem is he's a little stiff athletically and not as explosive upon contact, but this is a guy I do believe can have a lot of success as a pass defender as a pro. So let's recap my 2015 NFL Draft prospect rankings for the outside linebacker position. The #1 overall prospect, Shaq Thompson, is my only first-round graded prospect, and these are color-coded by round grade, second round, third round, and you can look all the way down, even with Edmund Robinson and Michael Gruber. Those are guys that I think can make a football team and have an impact. So this is a very good class of outside backers, guys that you'll find that do a great job on both ends of defense.